It's time to turn the clocks back. John Cena and Randy Orton have decided to remind us what's old is new again. Andy, can you say deja vu? Welcome to Squared Circle Radio, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. If this is your first time tuning into the show, we appreciate you being with us. Hit that like button on the video. Hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel if you would. And if you're listening on podcast, just make sure to follow on whatever platform that you are listening. I'm your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcaster Chris Belcher, coming back after a 2-episode absence. Thanks to some work trips and all the things, Andy York is back with us. Andy, how are we?
Good, man. I have missed being on here talking about wrestling, so I'm excited to get back in the groove of things and talk about the last week and a half of just a craziness that is WWE right now.
It definitely is crazy. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't checked out all the things that we did over WrestleMania week, please go back in the channel. Go check all that out. It's available on just its own playlist. Go listen to it. Go watch it. All the things. Andy was a big part of that as well. Andy chimed in the chat last week. Jared Justice has now taken your place. He's on a work trip, so he is not with us. So he may chime in the chat here in a little bit. We'll see how that goes. But regardless, if he does or if he doesn't, we got lots to talk about because just because the Super Bowl is over, WWE doesn't have an off season, Andy. We are still rocking and rolling with the biggest Raw and SmackDown of the year. And then that parlayed into tonight. Before we get into the craziness of tonight, let's look back at the match that was made official this past Friday on SmackDown. I started this show by saying it's a blast from the past. Andy, this is one of the matches that we had on our bucket list for John Cena's retirement tour, and we are getting it in Randy Orton's hometown of St. Louis at Backlash for the WWE Championship. Man, just when you see this has to take you back, right? Like this is like Andy getting introduced into the world of wrestling, and it's like you're just living it all over again.
It's also giving me PTSD from how many times I've seen it. I forgot how many times I've seen it until that graphic popped up. But yeah, it's one of those that it's like Batman and Joker. They're just destined to do this forever.
Right.
And you get excited no matter how good or how bad it is. There's always a buzz in the air of Randy Orton versus John Cena, especially when you put a title on the line. But now you add the different roles that they're in, like Cena being the heel, Randy being the ultimate babyface right now. It's very interesting to see how things are playing out and to see how things are twisting and turning. It's got me excited for Backlash, and it's got me excited to see what they do. It's like I always say when it comes to Randy Orton in a WWE Championship match, his odds are never zero. That, like, at best, they're always 45% that he might win it, in my opinion. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think obviously tonight they didn't do anything. I think Friday they're going to do more to build a lot of hype and intrigue around this, and they've got so much history they can play off of.
See, I'm going to go the opposite. Because they have so much history, I don't think they have to do anything else. Like, we have seen some promos back and forth. We've seen some physicality. We've seen 2 RKOs from Randy Orton. That's one thing that I want to bring up. I'll get to that in just a second. But again, Andy, Cena only has 25 dates left. He was quick to remind us of that after WrestleMania. So the time is ticking. We're moving through the year quickly. We're almost to May. We still have 6.5 more months probably that we got to spread out these 25 dates. So I don't necessarily expect him even to be back before Backlash. Having said that, though, the physicality is what I wanted to bring up. It's exactly like the Cody feud. Cena's been laid out twice. Cody laid Cena out twice. And now we're seemingly headed to Backlash with no more Cena until we get there. Is this just going to be the formula for a John Cena championship match feud as a heel? Like, what do we need to do to change this up?
Yeah, I noticed that too. And it has to be done for a reason. It has to be done for something. But it is like, if you do the same thing over and over again, then it's obviously going to lose its flavor after a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
I think with these two guys, and I agree that there's so much history, they don't necessarily have to do anything else. However, we've never seen a Cena like this and a Randy like this. So I think there's a lot of different things that could play into heading into Backlash. But I agree. Like I think the thing that they can do to change it up a little bit is, and it's weird, it seems like Cena has been more tame on the mic as a heel than I anticipated him to be. Like I expected him to still be like this cutthroat guy who cuts all of these like nasty, harsh promos at people, but that hasn't really been like he had a couple good ones on Cody, obviously, and I'm sure he'll get one or two maybe on Randy, but it's not been like the version of Cena I think we all kind of thought we were going to get with a heel Cena of just laying into people and burying people on the mic like he loves to do sometimes. And so I think that would be very interesting because Randy is one of those guys that no matter what you do to him, there's no burying Randy Orton at this point. It's like a Rey Mysterio or whoever. You can't do anything to hurt them at this point in a lot of ways. And so just have them go out there and just have them verbally abuse each other for the next week or so, even if it's like pre-recorded. I think that's something that they could really utilize with Cena is maybe not show up week to week in person, but like have him on a Hollywood set with the title cutting a promo. Are you kidding me? Like that's one of the biggest ways that dude could get even more heat.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen that yet. Like I fully expected that. And maybe after he beats Orton, maybe we will. If you're watching us live on the YouTube channel, please make sure you drop your comments, drop your questions. I know I see that the To Me troll has revealed himself in the chat. Yes, that's our boy Jared Justice. I told you he'd be here. Again, if you're watching us in the YouTube on the YouTube channel, drop your questions, drop your comments. Andy, when you look at this, and again, this is a dream match that we wanted to see, and that we're excited to see this, honestly. Even though we normally give Randy a big percentage to win, I don't see him winning here. But having said that, when you look at this Cena heel run, you just mentioned it, like we thought we would see him just obliterate people on the microphone, and we're not seeing that. Do you think, I guess is kind of a two sides of the coin question here. Do you think the reason we're not seeing that is because WWE is afraid that people will get too invested in him and too behind him as a heel, and they still want him to get booed? The other side of that is he's still getting cheers anyway because it's Cena and we want to see this. So it's almost twofold here. Like, how much longer can we, again, it's something we've wanted to see for a long time, but how much longer can we go?
I mean, they had to have known when they were going to pull the trigger on this that a majority of the audience is probably going to cheer Cena now.
Was it going to be easy? For sure.
Yeah, like this is something we wanted to see, even after leaving Cody bloodied and everything else. I mean, the WrestleMania crowd was not 50-50. A majority of them were in Cena's corner cheering for Cena to win. And so I think that kind of formula in Cena's mind, even like that plays into his heel character even more. The fans getting behind him now because he is portraying what they wanted him to portray. And so now like the fans are literally every single week proving him right by doing what they're doing. So I don't think they have a problem with that. Part of me thinks the more I've watched this, like the more I've seen into it, maybe this wasn't as planned out as we thought it was. Yeah. Like I think this may have been a pretty quick decision to be like, all right, let's just turn Cena heel. Like we want to turn Cody heel. He's not really into it or whatever. Let's just turn Cena heel. Because I know I bashed him on the comments last week, and I'm going to do it again this week. If you listen to the interview from The Rock this past week, that was the most infuriating thing about everything, because he literally was just like, yeah, we had no plan. I had no idea. I had no plan to show up to WrestleMania. We just did this because whoever's in charge of TKO is worried about ticket sales and blah, blah, blah. So I showed up and this happened and that happened. Like, you can't book around that and make it sustainable and successful. So part of me thinks like this, there was not a lot of planning into this going into it.
Which is interesting, because if you look back at the interview that Cena did in the press conference following the Royal Rumble, you would say, oh, this makes all the sense in the world. So like in my head, they had it planned at least that far back. But again, I could be totally wrong. Maybe I'm reading into this completely wrong. As we wrap up this conversation about Cena and Cena and Orton, City Kitty in the chat, hey y'all, what's going on? Cena and Orton, Backlash. We'll be covering it live on the channel. So if you're not subscribed, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate that so much. I would say early prediction, but we're just a week removed from WrestleMania and we're less than 2 weeks away from Backlash. So it's not really early. Maybe it'll be the last time we predict it before we do our prediction show. But regardless, Andy, early lean on this one. I think I'll go John Cena here in maybe the slowest match in WWE history. What's your early look on this?
This is not going to be a good match. I don't like both guys are going to do what they do best, and that's fine. I think the story going into it and the story in the match itself is going to be what gets this thing going. I lean Cena, and I would love it. I forget what show it is, but Randy Orton, it's like 2000. I think it's like 2009. Randy Orton, when he's in his evil phase, and he just straight up slaps the referee to get disqualified. And it was against Cena. I could see Cena doing something like that too in St. Louis. Just straight up hit the ref, slap the ref, whatever, get himself disqualified. So Randy still technically wins, but Cena holds on to the title. Because I also think this isn't the only one of this that we're going to get. I don't think necessarily that we get another one-on-one. I think it may be a multi-man match or whatever. But I think this is going to lead to something else.
So Randy, you're saying Randy needs a tag team partner. You could slide Cody in there, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and then Cena needs a tag team partner. Well, Travis Scott has proven himself that he needs to be in a ring, so that's a great tag team partner. And it is. I know, right?
I can already tell you what's going to happen at SummerSlam too. Cardi B is going to get involved and help Cena win. If WrestleMania was any indication.
Okay. Refrain from what I was about to say. Okay. Let's move on. Andy, last week you weren't live on the show with us on the Raw after WrestleMania. Lots of things. We always say that WrestleMania is either the beginning of a story, the continuation of a story, or the ending of a story. And we've seen all of those things. So some really good storytelling started last week in which Gunther chokes out Pat McAfee. Now, again, Andy, if you remember, and for those of you who have been with us for a while, on the WrestleMania prediction show, I said I wanted this before WrestleMania, and we got it after WrestleMania. Andy, we find out tonight that another Backlash match has been confirmed. Gunther and Pat McAfee will go one-on-one. This is such a unique opponent for both guys. I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, the promo Pat cut tonight was awesome. He definitely got carried away and kind of forgot where he was, I think, for a portion of it. Because some of the things they said, and Michael Cole, what got me was Michael Cole was supposed to be like serious and stoic. Every time he dropped an F-bomb, Cole did this number to keep from cracking. It was done really great tonight. I love the angle they did last week because that fits who Gunther is going to be, of going after the people that are weak and unable to defend themselves, because he lost to Jey Uso at WrestleMania.
Yep.
And I love Pat McAfee. I think Pat McAfee is great on commentary. I think he's really solid in the ring. But if Gunther does not squash this man, if Gunther does not just outright squash Pat, then I'm going to really question what we're doing here, because I love Pat. I think it's going to be an awesome match. I think Pat's going to get some offense in. I'm not saying like one move and we're done.
Right.
But it's got to be a very clean, decisive win that Pat gets. And then maybe Gunther gets down in Cole's face and somebody else comes out to make the save. But I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm curious to see if they're just going to let Pat cut promos every week, if Gunther's going to do a video thing or whatever. But it's going to be entertaining no matter what happens.
I would love for Gunther to show up on Pat McAfee show now.
Like what Adam Cole did?
I think that's what we need next.
Yeah.
Or at least like next week, because they said that Gunther's suspension won't be lifted. So next week it'll be the last Raw before Backlash, if I'm not mistaken. So next week we'll make our predictions and we'll preview the show. But regardless, I feel like next week Pat could call him out. Hey, Gunther, where are you? Blah, blah. And then Gunther shows up at Pat's guys house or whatever, and he's beating up those guys because they'll get involved. I can't remember all their names off the top of my head, but those guys, AJ Hawk, he can go to AJ Hawk's house and beat up AJ Hawk or something. I don't know. I think that could be really, really cool to really spice this thing up. But I'm like you. I like this side of Gunther that he feels the need to prey on weaker people like a Michael Cole and then Pat McAfee. He said, I'm with you too, man. I think that this needs to be not quick, but it needs to be decisive, and Gunther needs to get this one, to show his dominance, get him back on the winning track. I don't know, maybe not back towards the world title just yet, but just a good decisive win and a way to get McAfee back in the ring.
I agree. I completely agree. And I think you're spot on that Gunther doesn't need to necessarily be back in the world title picture, but can be in a main event level feud without the title being involved one way or another. I mean, how have we not so far had Gunther versus AJ Styles?
Right.
That's one that kind of writes itself too. So there's a lot of options for him post Backlash.
Yeah, there definitely is. And you said it, main event level match. Look, Pat McAfee doesn't wrestle that often. He hasn't wrestled. I don't count the Royal Rumble appearance where he got chopped by Gunther, by the way. So I don't count the Royal Rumble appearance. So his last match was
38 against Vince.
No, SummerSlam in Nashville.
Was that post 38? Yeah, that was post 38. So Corbin.
Yep. That was his last match. So it's been a minute. So all that to say, when Pat gets in the ring, it is special. It's a special attraction. So super cool to be able to get Gunther in there. Again, a unique opponent for both guys. All right. Again, we continue the storytelling last week. We began the story at WrestleMania. We continued it the Raw after WrestleMania. Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria dropping the Women's Tag Team Championship, and then Becky turning on her friend. Becky turning heel, just absolutely annihilating Lyra Valkyria. We all saw this one coming from a mile away. The question is, why, Becky? Why? Well, guess what? Speculated it for a long time. Like I just said, Andy, Becky is back. She wants that Intercontinental title, but unfortunately, seems like she's just here to put Lyra over and to make her a more credible champion. What say you?
I'm not fully convinced yet that that's the outcome. Just because I live in this fantasy world where I'm like, oh yeah, it's like how Seth is with the men's division with Paul Heyman. Becky can align herself with Paul and be the same thing for the women's division. Because I instantly was like, Seth, Paul Heyman, and Braun Breaker. What's the female equivalent of that? Becky, Paul Heyman, and Jordan Grace. Like, I think you could do things like that. Then you could add in another male side to it. You could add in like a Julia or a Roxanne Perez of just building up the younger stars, but you have it in the men's division and the women's division too. And I think that may be the direction they go in. So I'm not ready to chalk this up yet of just putting her over. However, Lyra really stood her ground tonight. Like, she didn't look like a fish out of water in her promo tonight. She did a fantastic job.
Is this the first time that she's cut a promo? Like, it literally, that's the first time I remember
that, I think. Yeah. I think the other ones before were not like were just quick things or short things, but this was like the first long period, like long promo she had. And I thought she did a really good job of not letting the what chance get to her, not letting the crowd get to her, but stuck her ground, and the crowd was even on her side by the end of it. So I thought she did a really good job tonight.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see this match because if you go back to their NXT Championship match, which Lyra referenced, it's really good stuff. They know each other well, so Becky's going to make her look good. Yeah, and when I say Becky's going to put her over, in the back of my head, I'm also thinking, well, there's a really good chance Becky wins this championship here because we need some more credibility to this Intercontinental Championship. What better way to give it than to put the title on Becky Lynch? We speculated on the road to WrestleMania that this would be a WrestleMania match. We were just a night or two off. That being said, I mean, we said it on the show last week. Becky Lynch getting added to this Rollins and Heyman's deal, which we're going to talk about in a bit, makes all the sense in the world. A whole women's stable of it. I didn't even go that far, but that's actually a really, really good idea. Interested to see where they go after this, though, Andy, with Becky calling out Bayley, tying Bayley into this. I don't know. How do you think that part of it shakes out?
I mean, part of it is to build the women's IC title. And how you do that is have a Bayley versus Becky at like a SummerSlam for that IC title. And that makes it feel not just credible, but makes it feel important at the same time. And so I could see them building to that. I think Bayley probably won't show up till whatever's after Backlash.
Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. She could show up in the Money, like maybe Becky's in the Money in the Bank match, about to win it. Bayley comes out and pushes her off the ladder and costs her, and then we're kind of running towards SummerSlam with that. I think storyline wise, it makes more sense for Becky to win the title and maybe have another one-off against Lyra, and then go into that feud with Bayley for the IC title. And maybe even have Bayley win it off of Becky, like at SummerSlam or something. Then Becky, if she wants, can go away for a while. Bayley can start to be this champion and run through the division however they envision her doing that. But I think this is a great step in building that women's IC title to feel more important, because right now it just feels like a belt that she just walks out with no meaning whatsoever.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, we need to get the credibility of that title up in one way or another. We're going to talk about the other women's mid-card championship here in just a little bit. But before we go any further, let's hear a word from our favorite sponsor, SportsWire Radio, and the Reverend Tom Bryce.
Looking for all the latest happenings in the world of sports and wrestling? Well, you're in luck, because SportsWire Radio has you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, with great shows in the world of sports such as the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted by Uncle Tats, Donald Stewart, and Rob Barrows, New York Baseball Talk with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska, the Liftoff Jets, also hosted by Chris Bazaya and Sharman Phillip, Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind, Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. In the world of wrestling, SportsWire Radio has you covered with Squared Circle Radio, featuring Chris Belcher, Andy York, and Jared Justice. Those sit-down marks with DB, Primo, AJ, and Michael. A work in progress, featuring the Mayor of Canton, Piles, and Glenn Abbott. You can catch all of these great shows and more anytime, anywhere, and any place via the Listen Live button on SportsWireRadio.org, and you can also catch SportsWire Radio anytime on YouTube at SportsWire Radio 6579 to catch all the latest happenings in the world of wrestling. SportsWire Radio has you covered. It's all sports matters and all wrestling matters here on SportsWire Radio. I am your host, the owner of SportsWire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the owner of the Promo Wrestling Federation, and one of the owners of the Pride Wrestling Federation. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
Love that, dude. Thank you, Tom, for all of your support. We appreciate you so much. Speaking of who we appreciate, Jared is not here, but I would be remiss if I didn't shout out the Hideaway Boys in Pikeville, Kentucky for their support of Squared Circle Radio. We appreciate Gabe and Sean and all those guys and the work that they're doing to help us spread the word there in the good old hills of Eastern Kentucky. You are listening to two Kentucky born and raised fellas, a third one that is not here tonight. But so we appreciate support from Kentucky, Tennessee, all across the world. I know Brad listens from Japan all the time. And, we have Andy, we have people in the UK and in India, and it's wild, man. I was telling Jared the other day, we're about to get sidetracked here, but that's okay. Andy, I was telling Jared on the phone the other day, wouldn't it be incredible? Because WWE has said they're going to do a pay-per-view in India, or a show in India at least. Wouldn't it be wild, dude, if we're watching this India show and we see somebody wearing a Squared Circle Radio shirt? Like, would that not just be the wildest thing?
Oh, I would just roll over and die right there. That's the dream right there. My dream is to get the green shirt guy in the front row to switch from a green shirt to a Squared Circle Radio shirt right in the front.
Yes.
Where we get publicity every single time. That would be, listen, if you do that, we'll get not just a shout out, we'll get you on the show. I'm doing the executive decision right now, even though I'm not an executive. We'll get you on the show. We'll do whatever we got to do to make that happen.
We will make it happen. Any support is great support, and we appreciate your all support. The best thing you can do, again, if you're watching us live, drop those comments and questions. We will get to those. Like the video. It's the thumbs up button that's below. Subscribing to the channel helps us so much. We surpassed 300 subscribers over WrestleMania weekend, so we can't thank you guys enough for that. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much. Again, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, it doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps us a ton. So please make sure that you do that. Andy, we were talking about things that are on. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. The To Me troll, Jared, is back in the chat. Gabe and Sean, the Hideaway Boys, Hideaway Novelties. There it is. See, I got it. Jared. It's all good. I got it. We were talking about matches that are confirmed, or seemingly confirmed rather, for Backlash. And one guy that is so far absent from the Backlash card is the former WWE Champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. He was not on SmackDown this past Friday, despite being advertised. I'm pretty sure he could have been in the dark match, Andy, but I didn't see anything floating around online about it. And I assume if he was, that somebody would have said something about him being in the dark match. So I assume that he wasn't. So that begs the question, man. He drops the title to John Cena after a 370+ day reign. What's next for the American Nightmare? Lots of speculation going on. The Rock made it very clear and very public that eventually he would like Cody to turn heel, even though he didn't, ahead of WrestleMania. I'm not saying you have to book a heel turn or whatever, but in the immediate future, Andy, what's next for our former champion?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, because I don't fully know what's next for him. Because we've been so engrossed in him finishing the story and then with the title that I don't think anybody really thought, like, what happens when he drops the title? What do we do? Like, what happens with Cody when he loses the title?
Because we could all just envision him being champion forever, right? Yeah. Like, when Roman was champion forever, it was like, oh my gosh, please take the title off of him. But when Cody is champion forever, it's like, well, duh, he's champion forever.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's necessarily next for him. I'm still of the belief that the person that takes the title off of Cena is going to be Cody again. Mm-hmm. I think Cody's the one that gets it back from him, probably with a low blow and a title shot to the head to pay back whatever he did at WrestleMania. And I could see that being the long-term plan, but short-term, I mean, maybe a heel Randy Orton. Finally, we get a Randy Orton versus Cody. I think if you want to build to that Cody heel turn, have all of his friends slowly start to turn on him, like a Randy, and like maybe a Sami Zayn, or CM Punk, or just put whoever you want in there. And then build to that slow Cody heel turn where maybe Cena versus Cody ends with a double turn, and Cena's the baby face and Cody's the heel, and we move forward from there.
Yeah, we got to get Cena back on the babyface train at some point, and some way to do it. So it's an interesting way if it were to go that way. City Kitty in the chat, sad not to see Cody on SmackDown. He was at Universal Studios with the family. He was also at Hollywood Studios with the family, to which Andy was there the same day. So I see it on Twitter. I'm like, Andy, I don't know if this is exactly true or not. Somebody posted it. Just be on the lookout. Andy, did you see Cody?
I did not. With every VIP group and every person in a hat that walked by us that had the same body type and build, I was peeking under. We were looking. Me and my wife both were on the Cody hunt at Hollywood Studios, just seeing if we could see him anywhere.
That
wouldn't be the first time I met a wrestler at Hollywood Studios either. So
that's where you met Ospreay, right?
Yeah.
That's so funny. It would have been great if you'd have run into him. Here's what I think, man. Like, I would keep Cody off TV until Backlash. Like, I would have Cena, just the most dastardly way to beat Randy Orton in his hometown. I don't know. I wouldn't say Travis Scott, but some way to beat Randy Orton in his hometown. And then as Cena's celebrating, Cody's music hits. Cody shows up. And he does the belt motion, but they don't get face to face. Cody's just in the aisle, but we know that he's back. We got a comment here from TriStar. Thanks for hopping in the chat there, TriStar. Cena versus Orton, in the words of Dusty and Ole, it'll never be over. That is exactly right. 100%. It's the feud that keeps on giving, guys. So like Andy said, Backlash is probably not the only one, at least in some form or fashion. So I would bring Cody back, and then I would have Cody win Money in the Bank, and I would have him say, Cena, I am a man of the people. I'm a man of my word. I'm cashing this in at SummerSlam. I'm telling you right now, the matches at SummerSlam, I'm cashing in. So again, that's how I would do it. But again, as to what's next, Andy, we saw after WrestleMania 39, when Cody had to face adversity, he went 3 rounds with Brock Lesnar. And, he won I think that was the tag titles after that or before that.
After that with Jey Uso.
That's what I thought. Timeline's getting
Jay turned on Roman at
SmackDown in Lexington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they had their match at Money in the Bank, and then
that was ahead of SummerSlam. Yep. Okay, so timeline's there now. So you can do something like that with Cody. I'm be a huge fan of a Cody Drew McIntyre feud, not necessarily for a championship because Drew's seemingly headed to a U.S. title, but we'll get to that in a minute. Cody Drew would be really good. I think we need to keep Cody and Aleister Black as far away from each other as possible. That being said, Andy, there's a lot of directions that you could go with Cody, but dude, look, we're looking at the face of the company here. So you have to be careful with what you do.
Well, and we went through the same discussion this past year with Roman. Like, what does Roman do without the title? Who is Roman Reigns without the title? And we still don't really know the answer to that, and it's been a year later.
Yep.
Which is part of his story and part of his character arc. But I don't feel like Cody needs to go down that same character arc. I think Cody has known what it's like to not be champion longer than what he knows. Like, he knows what it's like to not be champion more than he knows what it's like to be champion.
Yes.
But I would like it. I mean, listen, I'm always a fan of the idea of getting to that Homelander Cody. Mm-hmm. Well, what could be the thing that drives him to that? Winning back the championship, winning back that title that meant so much to him to get in the first place, and then to have him lose it by being the stupidest babyface in wrestling history.
Right.
Like, that would drive anybody over the edge of, like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that title back. And I could see them slowly telling that story over the year to then whenever Cena's last match is, then you could do that double turn.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely could. But then the other side of that, Andy, is we say, the dumb thing that Cody did at WrestleMania. It's like, well, he cheated to beat Kevin Owens and he was a babyface and nobody had a problem with it.
Yep.
So I'm just concerned that the double turn on Cena wouldn't necessarily be a double turn because a lot of people could see it as, well, Cody's just getting his revenge. It's fine. Because, Andy, look, every wrestling match in history, when a heel introduces a steel chair and the referee catches him with it and the babyface steals the chair, hits the heel with it, does that make him a heel? No, everybody cheers for him because, we got one over on him and it's great. Yeah. It's the same thing with Cody here, know?
But I think the difference would be you start to plant the seeds over the year of Cody is not the same Cody that he was, and he's playing into this darker version to where maybe it's not just a low blow and a title shot to the head. Maybe he just does that and then just for no reason bloodies Cena to a pulp and just refuses to stop. And so maybe it doesn't even end with a pinfall, but it's like the referee pulling Cody off of Cena, leaving him in this bloody mess, and that's Cena's farewell. Like, that's the last time we ever see Cena for a year until he comes back to promote something. So I could see them doing something like that. One thing about Cody that I learned, especially watching him in like the independent scene, especially when he first started with Bullet Club, when he's a heel and like they let him be a heel, the dude is diabolical. Like the dude can get heat however he wants. And so I think they could do the turn without it just being the simple chair shot to the head or title shot to the head.
Sure. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they do it. If he goes full heel, if it's this, long-term thing that it takes him a while to get there. Regardless, I'll be interested to see what happens. City Kitty back in the chat. Let me throw this back up here. The face of the company will be back sooner than later, in my opinion. Well, let's have him not this Friday and not the following Friday. Let's wait till Backlash. Let's give it a couple weeks. We just need to let it breathe so that if this booing in Las Vegas thing is real, let's give it time and let's see what happens when he comes back. Andy, again, we're telling stories. Lots of storytelling. We told a big one at WrestleMania with Paul Heyman aligning himself with Seth Rollins. We got the continuation of that last Monday when Braun Breaker is revealed as the muscle of whatever this group is going to be. Based on the promo tonight on Monday Night Raw, Andy, I would call this group the Vision. That's just me. I wonder where I got that idea. She plugged for Andy there. She plugged for Andy there. Nonetheless, though, we see an interaction on Raw with Sami Zayn. Did you find this as weird as I did? Like, Sami just seems like a weird. I guess you can get away with him as a first target, and it seems heelish, but it was just random, especially because he was off TV for like a month and a half.
Yeah, I think this, you needed somebody who was obviously close to Seth on TV and off TV for it to come across and impactful. And I think Sammy's the only one, maybe outside of like a Cody Rhodes, but obviously you're not going to do that to Cody right after WrestleMania.
Sure.
And there's not really anybody else on the roster that I would say Seth is like that close to. But obviously like Sammy, he is, because you can tell over promos and just stuff they've done. So I get what they were going for. The execution may have been a little weird in the opening promo, but I thought the way they finished Raw and everything went off the air, I thought they did a fantastic job. This is Evolution 2.0. Like there's no doubt about it that you've got, it's weird, Paul Heyman's Ric Flair, which is really weird to compare those two together.
Nope.
Seth is obviously Triple H. Breaker is Batista. They're just missing their Randy. Yep. And whenever he shows up, I'm telling you, this group is just going to take off. And I could see WrestleMania main event this year to next year being Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins in the main event of WrestleMania to build the future going forward.
Yeah, I think at some point Seth Rollins, I would say maybe SummerSlam, Seth Rollins takes the championship off of Jey Uso, and then we build SummerSlam to WrestleMania and we get Seth versus Braun at WrestleMania, crowning him as the new champion. Yeah, I don't know, the Sammy thing with the relationship. Okay, that makes sense. I thought it was really weird watching through the night, and I was all on board until the end of the show, because it seems like, and this is probably part of the character in this new chapter that we're in with Seth Rollins, is everything he was doing was very babyface. Like he was still doing the crowd thing, and the crowd was behind him. And it seemed like he was out for Sami Zayn's best interest the whole time. And still, like, everything was very babyface-like until he stomped him at the end. And we see this look. So I don't know if we're going to see this Jekyll and Hyde type version of Seth Rollins with this group. But Andy, we know that every good heel has some truth to what they're doing.
Yeah.
And Seth Rollins is telling the absolute truth when he's talking about the best in the game being him and the future of the business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he's not lying. He's just doing it in a diabolical way, I guess.
Yeah. And I think the point to me where he was definitely coming off as a heel was when Sammy brought up the comparison between him and Punk and Roman. And you look back and like, Sammy's got a point. Like you are what you hate now. And it seems like because you are jealous of Punk and because you're jealous of Roman, that has driven you to this point.
Yep.
And then Seth's reaction to that lets me know this is more, this may be more of like a hybrid of who he is now and his visionary Monday Night Messiah character that we had during the pandemic, just fleshed out a little differently.
Yeah.
Which is exciting because I think the crowd's going to do his song. I mean, he's got a very catchy song, and they're not going to change this song anytime soon. So the crowd's going to do his song, but it's one of those. I mean, it's like the Adam Cole thing when he was in NXT. People cheered Undisputed Era when they walked out. You put a mic in his hand, and about 10 seconds later, they're going to be booing him. So I think Seth
or
can
the
get
bell,
the same kind
or
of
the bell rang, and he was able to turn him around.
Yeah, so I think Seth's the exact same way.
Yeah, I agree. I should have led with this question, and I didn't. That was bad hosting. I apologize. You weren't on the show last week. Yes, you chimed in the chat, but you weren't on the show last week to give your immediate reaction to this new group. So looking at it, I'm not saying like book who's going to be the Randy Orton of the group or, whatever. You've already given us the female version of this. What's your immediate thoughts of lining up Breakker with Heyman and with Rollins? And, we had a lot of questions about what the Rollins-Heyman alliance would look like. What are your thoughts when you see this play out, especially last week?
I absolutely loved it. At first, when Braun hit the ring and he was in all black and a hoodie, I immediately thought there's another Uso. Like there's another bloodline member that just hit the ring. What are we doing? And then I noticed the spear, saw Braun, and immediately was like, absolutely yes. How did we not see this coming? Like, how did we not see Braun Breakker being aligned with Seth and with Paul Heyman? He's like the only guy I know that like lost his title at WrestleMania and looks even better without the title now because of who he's with. So I think I'm a big fan of it.
And that entrance tonight with Paul Heyman behind him. Oh,
yes. It was perfect. I mean, it's absolutely perfect seeing that. I would love to see a younger athletic guy get in there, not like the bulky kind like Braun. I mean, I think a Carmelo Hayes would be very interesting in a group like this. I think he would get a really good shine. I mean, even like maybe a Chad Gable at some point could potentially be, even like a Trick Williams from NXT or an Obafemi or Ethan Page, like somebody like that from NXT
Ethan would be so good. Ethan
is, because he's already that character. Like either him or Ricky Saints could automatically come up into that spot. And I'm like, yeah,
Ricky's the other one that I thought of too. Yeah,
I believe it.
Somebody to be able to come in, eat the pin of the group, and not be hurt by it, and still like steal the show in the ring. Carmelo and Ethan Page are the two.
And could win the world title within a year. And I'm like, yeah, I believe it. Like we got there. I fully believe it.
However, I think the difference in this version of Evolution versus the original, they pulled the trigger on Randy before Batista. I think it's the other way around here. I don't care who fills this spot. No. Breakker's getting the title first. Like it's
the whole purpose of this is to make Braun Breakker a main event guy. And I am totally fine with that.
100% it is.
Remember the days when NXT 2.0 started and we bashed this dude named Braun Breakker like no end for a while?
Yeah.
How dumb are we?
To be fair, we said that he was better than the other cats that they were dragging out there, like the Von Wagners and
forgot about Von Wagner.
I know, right? He's in AEW now.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine that.
Most of them are.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not. Speaking of AEW, though, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and Aleister Black makes his long-awaited return to Friday Night SmackDown. And Andy, we wondered what it was going to be like. We assumed it was going to be him, but look at this. As you're looking at this picture on our YouTube channel, he got the candles. He got the entrance. He even got his music back intact with nothing wrong with it. And then he just kicks the crap out of the Miz and all is right with the world. I was skeptical about what they would do with him. Still a little skeptical, but let's get a squash win over the Miz and let's get this thing going.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I was standing in line for the Skyliner going back to the hotel and was like, oh yeah, it's Friday. Like SmackDown's on tonight. And that's like, as soon as I pulled up Twitter, this was the first thing that popped up. Was his entrance. And I had to know what his music was. And when I heard the guitar riff and the sound of everything else, I lost my mind.
It's
because that's the only thing you could do with Aleister Black is like bring back the entire gimmick, bring back everything. He even still had like the 2 different colored eyes from when Seth took his eye out. Like
exactly what it was the next point I was going to bring up.
I absolutely love that we're doing this. Like maybe at some point we finally get a proper Seth Rollins versus Aleister Black like feud over what happened, and not just have him as like the piece to go forward with like a Rey Mysterio feud. I think Aleister Black is one of those guys that maybe is not world champion within the year, but is going to be a massive player for years to come. I mean, especially Triple H being in charge and how we saw him book Aleister Black in NXT. I don't see that being any different on the main roster.
Yeah, I don't either, honestly. I think it's going to be really, really fascinating to see exactly what direction that we go with Aleister post a quick Miz feud.
Yeah.
Probably a Carmelo feud after that, just because Miz and Carmelo are together, and I'm fine with that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Here was the thing that I didn't like about his entrance. His return as a whole. Number one, the lighting on the entrance wasn't great. They need to, I think they'll get that fixed though. So I'm not going to pick at that. What I was very upset about was Joe Tess's reaction when he comes out. Like the way he says it, he goes, "The menacing Aleister Black is back." And it's almost, he said it just like that. Yeah. And it's almost like somebody got in Wade Barrett's ear and was like, dude, get the excitement up. Because then Wade goes, "Oh my gosh, Aleister Black is back. I can't believe, whatever."
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I need some more, man. This is the return that's been built for like a month now.
Yeah.
And you're like underselling it.
Do you remember when Christian returned on ECW?
Yes.
And they were like, "It's Christian." Like they had like the most bland like excitement for his comeback. It wasn't that level of bad. Because I kind of get what Joe is going for of like a darker menacing, like, but there are times when that's appropriate. Like you could do that post music drop and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Wade's reaction. Like Wade Barrett nailed it. He was probably as excited as anyone else to see Aleister Black pop back up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that part was like, come on now. We could do a little better than that.
I know. I completely agree. But again, very exciting. Let me tell you something that wasn't super exciting on SmackDown. It's great to see Aleister there, but his wife really screwed up some things as we get ready to wrap up this show here and talk about some quick things on the way out. His wife, Zelina Vega. Now listen, you know that I'm a Zelina Vega fan, and I would be normally very supportive of her just randomly winning a championship. But to screw Chelsea Green out of her United States Championship, like Andy, I know I'm a Chelsea Green fan, and I know that it's going to sound like I'm just, I don't know, just griping and complaining about it. But Andy, for her to lose the title like that after the way that she's been booked and how good she's been and all that, what are we doing here?
It didn't come as a shock to me because she loses every other non-title match on TV. Which is like the most annoying thing about her run is, I mean, we were in the building at the Rumble. She was probably the second most over person in that Rumble besides Alexa Bliss's return.
That's true.
And like the boos that rang out from the audience, because I was one of them when she got eliminated, was like very telling.
Yep.
For her, one, not to be on the WrestleMania card at all. But then two, to like lose every televised match she had like the last month or so. I know she's the funny character that we can have lose and it's not going to hurt her, but you got to have her win. Like you got to have her win to make it to make Zelina's win of the title even more important. Like I don't mind Zelina winning here. It's just Chelsea's lost every other match. So why is this one any different or more important, even though the title's on the line?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. But still, like, come on. We have to do better, right?
Justice for Chelsea. I said it last week. Justice for Bayley. I'm on the justice for Chelsea train too.
Justice for Chelsea Green. Come on, man. speaking of matches that weren't on WrestleMania, that were on SmackDown, dude, the TLC match.
Why was it not on Mania?
I'll tell you why it wasn't on Mania. I have a thought. Okay. Just hear me out. Okay. You could make the argument very clearly that this match should have been on WrestleMania, right? But yes, WrestleMania is the big show of the year. But Andy, as I said at the top of the show, there's no off season for WWE. And Triple H says it all the time. The minute WrestleMania ends, he gets handed a script for the next night. We continue this train. So you have to build the next shows. And I would dare say, yes, we had the Aleister Black thing. But I would dare say this episode of SmackDown wouldn't have been as good had this match not been on it.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree.
I think it certainly had a spot on the WrestleMania card, especially because we only had one gimmick match. So this would have been another one. Yep. But I think for it to steal the show and be the focus of SmackDown was really, really good and a way to elevate SmackDown. So I could see it going both ways.
Yeah, but you can't tease TLC at WrestleMania weekend and not put it on WrestleMania at the same time.
That's
like
fair.
If you made it a ladder match, then that's one thing. But like TLC, when I think of TLC, I think of chaos at WrestleMania.
Sure.
And so that's my only complaint. Like, why was this not on WrestleMania? Like, why do we have to have New Day versus War Raiders, which I love? Like, the match was better than I thought it was going to be. But the TLC match is 10 times better and is more of a WrestleMania match than that match was. So I think you could have put something else in the place of it to make it feel big and important. But again, I understand why they also kept it off the Mania card for this SmackDown.
And the feud between these teams is arguably deeper and more important than the New Day and War Raiders. Anyway, it seems like that was seemingly thrown together as it is. But Andy, it's not uncommon for WWE to do this. Think back to the SmackDown that we were at in Nashville. It was the night before Bad Blood. What was the main event of that SmackDown? A triple threat ladder match for the tag team titles with the Street Profits, DIY, and the Bloodline. So like they do this kind of thing all the time. I guess it's just more glaring that it's TLC and it's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I
do agree. I was about to say, I do agree with City Kitty's comment. The prosthetic leg spot was perfect. It's the most Montez Ford thing in that match. I loved it.
Dude, just if we haven't given our flowers to Montez Ford before, like, dude was all over the place in this match. When he hit the swanton through the table on the outside, he did the dive over the post. He did the blockbuster to the outside. He climbed up the inside of the ladder, Andy.
I'll say this. If you want to make this new version a little different, put the Street Profits with Seth and Paul Heyman.
Oh, that's good.
And you could have the Street Profits still be the Street Profits, but on the side, Montez Ford could fill that Randy Orton spot of the guy that could be a breakout star. Because we've talked about it before. Like he had a couple matches, or at least one match with Roman, didn't he, on SmackDown, where we were like, this dude is awesome. Like, why is he not being pushed more as a singles guy? I think if you put him in a group like this and have him start to be that shine and start to get those moments, I mean, I think he could be a massive star coming out of it.
He was randomly in that Elimination Chamber match at one point. So I think they would be. I think adding a tag team rather than a singles could be really, really good, and Street Profits would be perfect for sure. Also, selfishly, I would love DIY to be in the group with Seth. I think that would be awesome.
Tommaso Ciampa without a beard is unrecognizable. He looks weird. He looks scary without a beard.
I would like to know legitimately when the last time that Tommaso Ciampa in his life was clean shaven. Like, I would love to.
Oh my gosh, it scared me when I saw it on Twitter. It legit scared me. I was terrified.
It was definitely wild. One more thing from SmackDown to get to before we close up here. The U.S. Championship picture is getting very convoluted on Friday Night SmackDown. Jacob Fatu, the new champion, seemingly is having some beef with Solo Sikoa, which you got to pop out of the people. And then LA Knight wants his title back. Drew McIntyre randomly inserting himself. And then Damian Priest making his return. I don't know if we're setting up for a fatal 4-way here for Jacob's first defense. But Andy, I really like the insertion of Drew and Priest into this championship picture, intentional or not, because it makes that title feel important.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that's important, especially if they're trying to make Jacob Fatu as big of a star as we all think they're trying to make him be. Have him feud with a Drew McIntyre and a Damian Priest and have him beat him and look really strong with that title. I think obviously like the long-term plan is probably Jacob versus Solo at SummerSlam.
I'm so surprised that we're able to drag it out that long.
Listen, I think there's a chance they may drag it all the way out to WrestleMania next year.
Oh no, we
I hope not.
This year's WrestleMania.
Yeah, we listen. This and the Judgment Day breakup just needs to happen already, so we can move on. Because I'm sick and tired of the Judgment Day and this tension and the Bloodline. The Bloodline story is kind of done. Like we just need to kind of move on from it and keep going forward. But I think Jacob Fatu is going to come out of this whole ordeal looking like the star they want him to be. But you put him in there with an LA Knight and with a Drew McIntyre and with a Damian Priest, it really elevates him even more. And it really puts him closer to that main event level that they want him to be at.
So in this spot, or in this angle rather, they broke the announce table, the supposedly reinforced announce table. Andy, since January, they have been telling us that these are reinforced, they can't break. And then they broke them at WrestleMania. They made it mean something. Can we please not break the announce table every week now? Like, come on.
Am I the only one that noticed that? Was fine.
Yeah,
and Pat stood on it and was fine.
I know, but let's just not break them, please. Let's make it mean something, can we?
Yeah.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. Lots of fun stuff, lots of big things to dive into. The train keeps rolling, Andy. And I think the theme that I took out of this episode, as we looked back to the progression from before WrestleMania to last Monday to last Friday, and now this Monday, man, Triple H and this creative team, they are just so invested in telling stories and keeping things linked together. There have been some things in the past that we've questioned that it's like, how did we get from here to here? And how does this connect? And how is this going to connect? But Andy, like, look at the things we talked about tonight and how they related to WrestleMania and last week. And they're really turning the page and really giving us just evolving these stories each and every week.
Yeah, and I think the main thing I'm taking away from the last couple of shows, at least, is how refreshing it is to see new stars and younger talent actually being pushed, and it matters. And I'm not just talking about Braun Breaker. I mean, you have Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill that happened, which is, really great for both those ladies. Penta is looking really strong. Dominic Mysterio coming out of WrestleMania as the IC champ and being maybe the most over guy in the company right now, which is wild to say that about Dom. And then you've got Julia and Stephanie Vakir showing up and getting massive reactions every single night when they show up. I think the old guard and the new guard are meshing really well together. And that shows how great the product is in WWE right now.
Yeah.
Because for so long, it was the part-timers coming in and burying the young talent and then leaving, and that leaves us with nothing. We're not really seeing that anymore. We're seeing the part-timers or the veterans of the business with the young up-and-coming stars, apart from Charlotte Flair, and working really well together and building stories and building characters and doing things really well. And so that's the biggest thing I'm taking away from this, the last couple of shows, is just how bright the future for WWE is, even with how popular it is now.
Yep.
I mean, Obafemi hasn't even been brought up yet. When that dude gets brought up, the game changes even more. Joe Hendry's contract with TNA runs out this year. I can guarantee you that man is going to have a WWE contract in his face as soon as his contract is up with TNA, and he will be a massive star. There's just there's so many potentials and opportunities. The Lucha Brothers got a mention tonight from Penta on TV, which is showing that they could potentially start to come back together at some point. So just the future of the business is looking really promising and really bright right now.
Yeah, this regime is definitely not afraid to take chances and to push people that maybe normally wouldn't be pushed, or people from NXT continuing to have them show up, or having Trick Williams show up at TNA and attack Joe Hendry, and just, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. So, wrestling's in a good place. Let's see where they tell the stories from here. Let's just see where it goes. I'm excited. Let them cook, as Sam Roberts would say. That's going to do it for this edition of Squared Circle Radio. We appreciate you guys being tuned in. Again, whether you're listening on podcast, make sure you follow on whatever platform you're on. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. For Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Squared Circle Radio. We will catch you guys down the road.